We go. All right, welcome to the network call. Just a reminder, because a few things have changed. Of course, this call always happens every Monday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. On Mondays, we have the Million Dollar Agent Method, which is Lars. He actually runs that call live himself, and it's based more on production or scaling your business. So there's a school community to join, and then you'll get that Zoom link directly. So make sure you join that. And then Tuesdays, we have our new collaborative call, and Erin Glenn is going to talk about Airbnb Blueprint. They do a ton of investing in short-term rentals, so she's going to talk about that. And then Thursday, our Attraction Mastermind is back with John Mikish at 1 p.m. Eastern. So, or wait, do we have one this week? No, we don't. I don't think we do this week.
Because of 4th of July.
4th of July. Yep. So, whoops,
Mhm.
ignore that one. It's crazy with the 4th. It snuck up on us. So also don't forget that we are now moving into Slack. And so if you haven't used your email to get into Slack, you do need to do that because Workplace is going to be updated, I guess, maybe for a little while, but Slack is where everything's going to go. And I would say, even as a Slack user, it took me a minute to kind of understand the groups that I'm in, and because they all kind of have funky names, I think, or a few that I'm in. So get in there, play around, and check your emails for your Slack access. And then, also, of course, EXP University every week, our big agent meeting we have every week. But also, just a reminder that FastCap is coming up again for another class. So if you just go into EXP University, you'll see how to sign up for FastCap. And I think all agents should do it. It's just really, I'm in Fast Attract right now, but I've heard tons of great things about FastCap. And Fast Attract is awesome. So when they do the next
And
season,
we
we'll
have
let you
a
know.
fast start for agents who are brand new, correct?
Yes, I think they do still have that. You don't see as much about it, but
I
yes.
think we do have that too. Yeah.
Yes. Let me see. Did she? No, that was the Slack one. Yeah. Yes, I think we do still have Fast Start as well. And then we've got some new members. So Bethany Hedrick is actually from my area. So that's fun to have her as a new agent. And Todd's on here. Todd sponsored her. We have Richard Zapata from San Antonio, sponsored by Jacob. And then Sandy McConnell here in Sioux Falls, sponsored by me. So we got some new members, which is exciting. And that is all I got. So I will turn it over to you, Janie.
Awesome.
Mm.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Um, and Aaron's training tomorrow is actually perfect for what I'm talking about today, which is um, all about the difference of how you identify yourself. And so the topic is becoming a real estate entrepreneur versus a real estate agent, clarifying your identity and expanding your vision. And I think this is such an important topic for people with a real estate license because sometimes we don't even think about what we are, how we identify ourselves, and it makes a big difference in the trajectory of how we go forward. Um, So, um, why does this matter? So salespeople in real estate are salespeople. They think like a salesperson. Imagine a car salesperson. Imagine um, any type of salesperson. They're normally chasing deals. Like it's the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, or holding on to deals, trying to keep deals together, but it's all focused on the deals. Whereas, let me just move this for myself. Okay, an entrepreneur, a real estate entrepreneur, they build businesses and they build careers and they build dreams and they go after their dreams. So there's a big difference. And a lot of people, I would hazard to guess, many people, most people, um, don't think one step ahead of that. They get kind of just stuck in that deal chasing, deal holding together aspect, and they don't think it all the way through, which takes planning, takes vision, takes things like that. So at the very most basic level would be a real estate licensee, which is all the people who have real estate licenses. Gazillions of people have real estate licenses. What is it, like 1.5 million in the US alone? But the percentage of them that actually do something with that real estate license is actually very, very small. Not all of them belong to NAR. Not all of them even have it active. If they do have it active and they do belong to NAR, a huge chunk of them don't even do one transaction per year. So that's the very most base level of what a real estate person with a license could be. The next one is the one where I think many, many real estate agents identify with and call themselves. If you were to ask them, if you were to meet them at a party or in an elevator and say, what do you do? They might say, I'm a real estate salesperson, I'm a realtor, I sell houses, something like that. They are focused on deal flow. They're transactional focus. They're very much in the get enough deals going, hold them together, move on to the next. So it's transaction, transaction, transaction. The next one, which would be the next ascension level kind of up in your development of yourself, would be a real estate advisor. And that's how I've identified myself for a long time. And the difference in my head between a real estate salesperson and a real estate advisor is the real estate advisor is focused on long-term relationships and profession. Their professionalism as a true professional real estate person. And they are relationship focused, they're skills-based focused. Not to say that sales people aren't skills-based focused, but it really takes it up a notch. And when you are relationship focused versus transactional focused, and you see yourself in the eyes as an advisor, it's almost as if you're a financial planner or a financial advisor or somebody like that who's sorry, I'm just checking, my dog's acting a little weird. Advising them holistically. And if that one transaction does or doesn't go through, it's not what's important to them, because what's important to them is what's best for the person they're working with, whether it's the buyer or the seller. And it's a long-term relationship. It's the kind of relationship where that person is then thinking, gosh, my my cousin Ernie over in South Dakota is thinking about buying something. Maybe I'll call and get my real estate advisor's input. They're really thinking of you as a consultant and an advisor. That builds a much longer term kind of relationship in time with your real estate career. And then the final one, which I think many of us, especially here at EXP, should strive to achieve, would be a real estate entrepreneur. When you're focused on all the different aspects of real estate income, that is vast, it's huge. But it's crazy to me how many people who are real estate, even salespeople or advisors, are just focused on one or two streams of income from real estate. That's almost always sales, right? Almost always sales. So a real estate entrepreneur is somebody who's looking at the big picture of all the things, and maybe they have a 5, 10, 15, 20-year, stretched out vision. So the salesperson's mindset would be they work in the business. You know what I mean? We've all been there. You're working in the business. You're grinding hard to get the leads. You're grinding hard to, get things under contract. You're grinding even harder in today's market to hold them together to get to closing, but you're very much in the business. You don't take that much time to step away from being in the business to be on the business. You rely on transactions to create your income. Most of your income, if not all of your income, is 100% from transactions, sales, closed deals, or leases or whatever. You've focused on short-term goals. Can I get to X amount of transactions this month? Can I have X amount this quarter? Can I have X amount of income or production this year? But it's very much focused on the very kind of near future. It's easy to become overwhelmed because we're, always busy and we're putting out fires and we're juggling. We've all been there. You're probably there right now. Lots of us are there right now. And they have little time to actually put into building systems, scaling up, getting into other things, starting to have things work together. It's a very stressful thing. And when they stop selling, whether that's, at 65, or we've seen those people out there hustling around at 80 years old. When they stop selling, when their last deal closes, that's it for the income that they built for themselves. And we all know agents like that. We all know. I remember, gosh, 5 years ago or so, going out with a gentleman who was so great and so seasoned. He had to have been close to 80. He had like those orthopedic type shoes. He was going to list something with me. We're going together, and it was a big property. It was a 100-acre property, and the owner of the property wanted to take us around in his 4-wheel drive pickup truck. And that poor gentleman even couldn't get in the pickup truck. It was like, so, and we don't want to be there. Like, we don't want to work this hard just to feel like we have to be out still selling houses when we're wanting to enjoy, our lives. So, but again, most agents are in that salesperson mindset. And you can shake your head yes or put a thumbs up, either if you've been there before or if you're there now, because I get you. We've all been there. Now, the entrepreneur mindset is different. They work on their business, or at least they put a certain percentage of time away every week to work on their business, meaning planning, meaning systems building, meaning thinking things through, putting things in place for other things besides just sales. They build multiple strings of income, and we're going to get into that in a minute, because like I said, being at EXP is probably the best brokerage I know of to build multiple streams of income. They plan for long-term growth. They're planning for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. They really have a much bigger vision. They invest in their branding and their systems and leverage, and they understand how important leverage is, so that they can be working on the most important stuff, the stuff that moves the needle in a big way, not just gets to the closing table. They're a lot less focused on and stressed out if a deal is going to close or not, because they have a big vision goal. When you have a big vision goal, you've already calculated into your business planning that X amount of deals are going to fall apart. You have that all in your thing. So if one falls apart, you're not stressed about it, because it's already part of your business planning. You know that happens. Or if you don't get a listing that you've got on the appointment, you don't stress about it, because you've already calculated in, okay, I'm going to, list 85% of the listing appointments I go on. So if you don't land one or choose not to take one, you're not crushed by it thinking, oh my gosh, when am I going to get my next opportunity? And they really focus on creating freedom through intentional structure, which is all what we have Game Changers for and the network for, is to help you guys have that big vision, grow that big vision, to be a real estate entrepreneur. And remember when I said, what would you say to somebody if they asked you in an elevator or a party, what would you do? How many of us would say real estate entrepreneur, right? Very few. Or how many would even say real estate advisor? We're still a lot of times just stuck in that salesperson mindset. And that's what I'm kind of encouraging you to think bigger around, right? So which sounds more like you? Do you wake up reacting to deals or driving a vision? Is your income entirely tied to your personal production, or maybe even the production of your team? Do you have systems running without you? Do you invest in coaching, marketing, and or a team, or some kind of leverage? Are you building a brand that lives beyond the next listing? So an example of my real life explanation of how I've seen this played out: I started as Janie Coffey, a solo salesperson. And then even before I had a team, before I had even an admin, I started putting myself out there as the coffee team, the coffee team, the coffee team, because I wanted the world to see me as bigger than just me, so that if I had other people doing other things, they wouldn't, that my clients wouldn't feel weird about it. And then when I grew that, I eventually became and morphed into the Gorgeous Florida Homes Network, which is something that can run without me, where people aren't expecting me to be the person showing the houses, or me to be the person as the listing agent, where other seasoned professionals can join me. So that's how I changed my mind from being a salesperson to a real estate entrepreneur, one of the several different ways. So it's obviously clear when you look at these questions, which one are you kind of falling into more towards the salesperson role, more towards the real estate entrepreneur role? Both are totally valid, but really only one leads to lasting freedom. Unless you're a salesperson and you are so good with your salesperson commission income that you're putting that money into investments all along the way. But me and Stacy and Todd, we know there's like two things that real estate agents are not the majority of, are not great. We're often not good with paying our taxes on time or dealing with our taxes. And we're definitely not so good about investing long term. Like it's just, we're grinding so hard and grinding so hard and dealing with all the things that we just don't think that way. So that's why I said we don't want to be the 75, 85-year-old person, you know, shuffling around having to do deals. If you still want to do deals, I think I just read an article about a lady recently who is like 100. Did you guys see that? She's like 100 and still doing deals. But she wants to, like, she enjoys it. That's fine. That's fine. I promise you, when I'm 100, I'm not going to be out doing deals. Like, I'm going to do other things, but I'm not going to be doing deals. So the cost of staying as a salesperson is burnout. And I hit burnout so bad. I used to think that was just some kind of floofy term that didn't really mean anything. Once you hit a burnout stage, it is so hard to come back from. I will tell you, it probably took me 2 full years to come back from hitting a hard burnout because I was grinding so hard. My head was always going. I was dealing with so many things. I was being the end all be all to everything. That's really, really hard. Some people never recover from burnout as a real estate professional. They just don't come back because it can be very hard. Their income plateaus because, especially as a salesperson, if you're not super leveraged, you can't continue to grow. You're only you, or you're you and an admin, or you're you and maybe a one or two salespeople, but you get to a point where you cannot grow any larger. Your growth income potential is limited. You don't have an exit strategy, just like the gentleman shuffling around, not able to get in the pickup truck. And again, you're always chasing the next deal, which can be very frustrating, especially in these days. I don't know if it is where you guys are, but even just trying to hold deals together this day, in the market we're in, at least here in Florida, is challenging. Like it used to be, if you could just get under contract, you were probably going to close. Right now, it's like, get under contract. Oh my gosh. Get through inspections. Oh my gosh. Get through appraisals. Oh my gosh. Seller and buyer still wants to buy right before closing. Like it is challenging right now. Um, Becoming an entrepreneur, they are really looking at all the different ways they can have passive income or residual income. That comes from rev share, revenue share that we have at EXP, that comes from investing, that comes from digital product sales and things like that. They're figuring out how can they scale, not only scale their income, but scale their brand. How can they get something going that can grow with very little input in them? How can they work on more freedom, more time freedom, more money freedom, more location freedom? And then how can they future proof their business, right? Because if you had all your money or all your incoming money just in real estate sales income, whether it's your own or your team members or rev share, that can really be hurt if we go through a severe recession, for example, or a severe downturn in the market. If all your money is just in that, but you can still be in the larger real estate world and have your passive income in several different aspects. You can have some in stocks. You can have some in long-term or short-term real estate income, like real estate investment, like rentals, short-term rentals, long-term rentals. You might have courses or products. If you have courses or products, you can also pivot depending on how the market is. So you might be in an upswing, really great market, but if you nail how to have courses and digital products for real estate agents, there's a whole system behind that. Once you've nailed that system, your products and things can be for agents in an up market. But then if the market shifts and it's down market, you can just shift the product that you have, but you've already nailed the system. So that's what I'm saying. You can be nimble and you can future proof yourself by having your income in different different things. Another way you can do that is, of course, also having income coming to you from different states, because we saw COVID was the prime example where different states were affected vastly differently by COVID. And the people who had income from different states, whether that was from team income or their own sales income was in multiple states, or they had rev share, a downline in different states, or they had rental properties in different states, having your real estate income spread out in different states or different types of markets can also help future-proof you. Same thing, up and down price point. If you're a salesperson, the way you can kind of future-proof yourself is having your foot in something that you can shift up and down in price point if the market shifts. So there's 5 ways to shift from a salesperson to an entrepreneur. Create a brand, not just your name, because the brand is what you can grow. The brand is what you can bring people in to partner with you, or even take over a large chunk of something where you're still earning a position. A brand is something people can take on after you when it's not just your name. And I say this all the time. If you are in a state that allows you to have a team name that's not your name, and at least in the United States, I highly encourage you to not have your team name just your name. That becomes a really hard thing to pull yourself massively out of. And it also becomes challenging to attract top tier talent. Whereas if you have a team name that's, here at EXP, we have a team group called the Gray Feather Group, right? That can be any given different agents at any given different time, rather than like the Janie Coffey team, right? So think about that. Setting up repeatable systems, and this is what Stacy is so good about and teaches us all the time about, have systems that are repeatable, that other people can handle, have the training behind, the SOPs, standard operating procedures behind them, so that it's not reliant on just one person or just a few people. Leveraging technology and automation. In this day of AI, we are seeing massive shifts in how things are done. It can seem intimidating, but I would encourage you, if you're not already putting your toe in AI, it's something just like when email came around back in the day, some of us were resistant to that, or different things like that. Streaming came around, we were resistant to that. Cloud-based brokerages came around, we were resistant to that. AI is one of these things. It is a complete state change in the way people behave, and you can really use it to get ahead and leverage your time so that you can be doing higher task things. Create additional income streams. We're going to talk more about that here in a second. And invest in mentorship and community. Because when you are in an echo chamber of yourself and in your own head, it is very easy to stay where you are and be like just trying to hold on to what you've got going on. But if you invest in, and I don't just mean money investment, money, it can be time, like your time investment in a community where you see other people doing bigger things, expanding themselves, growing, that motivates you, that inspires you. You can inspire and motivate other people. So really plugging into community of agents who are doing bigger things that you want to grow with, can be a huge impact on how you shift your mindset from salesperson to entrepreneur. So EXP literally empowers you to shoot for the stars. They give us so many tools. And I was a true Blue Sotheby's agent for 8 years. I was a founding Compass agent for 3 years. Those brokerages, and probably 90% of other brokerages out there, train you on one thing and support you on one thing, and that is real estate sales. Why is that? A, that's their wheelhouse and that's all they got. But B, they don't want you to stop selling, because when you stop selling, they stop making money. EXP is totally different. Like Glenn's vision, our C-suite, they are totally different. They are always encouraging us to think bigger. Leo, think bigger, grow. They're all entrepreneurs themselves. They're not just managers. They are entrepreneurs, and they understand how we can grow bigger in ourselves. And that doesn't, you don't have to be the next Leo, but maybe you have something inside of you that really wants to come out, that can help expand your version from being just a team leader or a salesperson. I don't mean just, I'm just saying expand on top of that. So some of the things that they give us here at EXP, most of which are free, no cost to us other than our time. We've got the Fast Start program, which Stacy mentioned earlier. There's three programs: Fast Start for new agents, Fast Cap for agents who want to learn how to cap faster, and then Fast Attract for agents who want to attract agents to their downline. These are powerful, powerful training programs that EXP gives us. We've got EXP University, which has like a gazillion hours of training that you can get for free on just about any topic, not just sales, not just production. They have training on Airbnbs, they have training on real estate investment, they have training on all kinds of things. So they have all this training that you would have to normally pay for if you were outside somewhere. You can get it for free through EXP University. They do have Elevate Coaching, which is their paid branch of coaching that has, there's about 10 topics in there: AI, luxury, um, listings, things like that. You do pay. It's $657, I think, is the top program they have. And that's for, or maybe $9.99. But these are programs that would easily cost 2 or 3 times that anyway, where the coaches have really worked with EXP to give EXP agents a huge discount on their coaching and training. You can become involved and be a mentor to EXP agents where you earn 10% on their first 3 transactions. You can get investment training from EXP. Like I said, there's some really great investment training now to be a real estate investor. We have express offers where you can work within the real estate investment, corner of real estate, but then it's putting you in constant contact with motivated sellers, with seasoned investors, with seasoned lenders, all these things where you can start to improve your knowledge, skills, relationships, database of the whole investor side of things. So if you're involved or interested at all in real estate and investment, I highly encourage you to get express offers certified and start to go down that path, because that's just going to put information and relationships in front of you that's in alignment with real estate investing. We have the whole revenues thing. We have rev share downline, and we have stock where we can be building our stock either through who we attract to EXP, our first deal, and then of course we can put 5% of our closed sales into stock for a bonus. So they're giving us so many ways to build out a really full thing of real estate income where you're not just a salesperson. So streams of income, sales, referrals, mentorship, courses, coaching, digital products, partnerships where you partner with somebody to do something where maybe you're really good at marketing and they're really good boots on the ground, or you're really good at lead gen and they're really good at marketing. You can partner with agents so that you're really working in your zone of genius and focusing your time on your highest and best, use of your time. We've got revenue share. Now we have co-sponsorship, which is huge. And then real estate investment, and, real estate investment comes in basically 3 flavors. Flipping, which is more like income. It's not really investing. Flipping is just a job. And I don't mean that mildly, but it's not building long-term investment income. Buy and hold, both short-term rentals and long-term rentals. And then you can also eventually invest into funds, real estate funds and things like that, where it's very much hands-off, but the asset that's growing is real estate. So this is an example of my kind of income pie. That's what I kind of encourage you to think about. If 100% is your whole income, what percentage might come from some of these different streams? And maybe yours right now is 1 or 2, but maybe you say, hey, by the end of 2025 or 2026, I want to add an additional stream, or I want to add 2 additional streams. So for example, I have this where I've got referral income. My goal would be that 20% of my income comes from referral income. I have revenue share, where my goal is that 50% of my income comes from revenue share and co-sponsorship. I have a goal to have 15% of my income from my courses and my digital products and my training. And then 15%. Now, I had this when I first made this, I had it as short-term rentals. I've actually shifted now to long-term rentals because St. Augustine has had a big shift in the past couple of years, where a lot of the short-term rental is drying up because we became oversaturated during COVID, and now there's too many. So I have shifted my real estate investing to long-term rentals. But this is going to shift over time, right? My goal would be that revenue share and rental income, starts to fully replace revenue from sales and referrals and courses, because these are still kind of need active involvement, where these two need less active involvement. But my goal for you would be to think about, oh, what would something look like for me based on my skill set, based on my interests? How do I dip my toe into things? So where are we going to go from here? Where are you going to go from here? What would be a more entrepreneurial vision of you? What would that look like? Are you interested in mentoring other agents? Are you interested in real estate investment? If you are, now's a great time. Like, now's a really great time, because a lot of the more hardcore investors have pulled out, because when they had oversaturated everything so much, it was harder for a newer investor to get a foothold. So now's an opportunity if you're newer to investing. And then what changes do you need to make in the next 90 days? We're just starting tomorrow. We're starting Q3, which is crazy. Like, if you wanted to add one income stream by the end of 2025, what would it be from these different things? And what would you need to do in the next 3 months to kind of get that going? So you can hustle your way to success, but you can't hustle your way to freedom. That takes strategy. And that's why I wanted to point this out, because so many of us get to like the first or second place on the board, and that real estate salesperson, like, we've moved out of just being a licensee, and we've now moved on the board game of life, but we're stuck at real estate salesperson. And we're not moving forward to other streams of income, to freedom. So I would encourage you, like, you need a vision, right? You really need to think, where do I want to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? What is that going to look like? Like I said, when I made my income pie, I've got kind of an income pie for now. And then my income pie for later would be these two, maybe make up 50% and 50 plus some stocks and things like that, where these two things are less and less. So what would your vision look like? Like, what would your income pie look like? It takes focus, because it's so easy to be, a squirrel comes your way, and easy to, run over there, and all of a sudden some really big sales deals come in front of you, and it's easy to start chasing those sales deals, and then put off your rev share growth, or put off your, investment goals, or put off your digital course or something like that, because all of a sudden you've got 2 or 3 really great deals. It takes focus. It takes, there's a term of a coach I took his course one time. It's called indistractable. So it takes indistractability, right? Where you're not chasing every squirrel or every shiny object. It takes a plan, and it takes consistency and persistence to stay on that plan, and realize, like, some of these things are short-term wins, but then they die off. Some take a long time to get going, or longer to get going, but over time they compound themselves. Rev share and real estate investment is two of the biggest things that compound over a longer period of time. So just thinking about that. And then, are you ready to rethink your real estate identity? That was kind of the whole purpose of that whole training. Was an hour ago, how did you identify yourself around what you do with real estate? And is there room to expand on that and to grow on that, where you really start thinking of yourself, even if it's not what you tell people in an elevator, but how you think of yourself really changes how you process the next opportunity that comes your way. And what I mean by that, and then I'll wrap it up, and if you guys have any questions, happy to take them. I've probably thought of myself as a real estate entrepreneur even before I got my real estate license. Like, I just never, I've kind of fell into real estate sales because I was actually investing. And as a general contractor, I still am a general contractor, but that I kind of came in the back door that way. But maybe 5 years ago now. Yeah, I think it was 5 years ago now. I was helping a gentleman. It was a referral, and he was selling a bundle of 10 properties here in Jacksonville. We went through 2 or 3 buyers. They all flaked out. And if I was just thinking of myself as a salesperson, I would have just continued to stress about, getting this bundle of properties under contract and sold. But since I was already thinking of myself as a real estate entrepreneur, I shot my shot with the seller, and I said, "Hey, seller, I'm getting a 6% real estate commission on this. Would you do seller financing with 10% down where I can apply the 6% commission to my down payment? And you hold a 30-year fixed mortgage, and he did. And I bought it. And I probably doubled or tripled, well, I gazillion times my money out of pocket because it was so low, because I was able to apply 6 out of the 10% of my commission towards the down payment. And since he was doing seller financing, there was very low costs for that mortgage. But the equity that I got in this, because I recognize the equity. So, but I wouldn't have even taken that opportunity to throw that out there if I wasn't thinking of myself as something other than just a salesperson. So that's what I'm saying. Even if you aren't sharing with people, I'm a real estate entrepreneur, but you're thinking it. When opportunities come your way, you're much more likely to see them and recognize them and take action on them. So anyway, I'll stop sharing, and then if anybody has anything, happy to answer questions, and hopefully made you guys think a little bit about just looking at things a little differently.
I think it
Any
was
questions?
really cool to see your pie too, like
Oh,
investment pie, like where you have things,
right.
because sometimes it's like, okay, I do want to invest in real estate, or, I do want to, do rev share, or, whatever it might be. And you gave us all those list of sources, but to see it in a pie, to see how well you are diversified to weather any storm, I think it was really good.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to be diversified to weather a storm, right? Like so many storms seem to have come our way in the last 10 to 15 years. You know, the recession, COVID, interest rates, whatever is going on in the world right now. Like, it's not this steady thing. Like, real estate is not this steady, consistent thing. And so you have to position yourself to navigate changes and be ready for them, not just as a salesperson, but just as a whole person. So that's one reason I did that. And also having multiple streams of income helps you navigate if something happens, like if you need to take time off because you yourself are sick or a family member is sick, or you want to take a month off. I can't tell you how many month-long vacations I've taken. Not vacations, I don't ever call them vacations because I travel for adventure, which is like different than vacation. Or to visit my daughter who lives in Europe. But I can't tell you how many month-long time off that I've taken where, sure, I've worked some of that time while I'm gone, but it would be impossible to do that as a full-time salesperson only. You know, big chunks of time, big chunks of time. So, any questions? Did you guys get a little bit motivated or inspired to add something? And it could be anything. It can be anything. It could be a book on real estate. It could be all kinds of things. All kinds of things. It could be a team, just growing a team. It could be anything. Stacy, I'm sure you thought of other things that I didn't even list on that list.
I don't know. That was a good list.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys maybe think, what can you do in this next 3 months to start working on one of those things or two? So,
Yeah,
I do
awesome.
have a quick question.
yeah.
Jenny, could you please share just a little bit? I know we don't have a lot of time, but could you please share a little bit? How did you pivot from that burnout? Like, I know you came as a contractor. That's actually, not my situation, but um, for many moving things, I'm feeling, I don't know if I am trying to figure out if I am feeling a little burned out, or it's because the market and the lack of a lot of inventory here and other stuff. But like,
Yeah.
I want to keep conscious and intentional and to check myself.
Yeah,
And
no. I think that's very valid. And I think many of us in real estate are feeling that right now. The burnout that I had actually started like 3 years ago. And from 3 years ago to 2 years ago was like horrible. I definitely was what they call functional freeze. Like you guys all knew me during that time, most of you. I could show up and do the thing, but that's about it. Like my full person behind it was just like shrinking to like protect myself. Um, so it's been a long slog, to be honest with you. And I in hindsight, like I said, I never understood that burnout was a real thing. Um, in hindsight, I would have started to take actions earlier, like you're even asking about it. You're conscious of it earlier. And I think self-care is a lot of that, because when you start to burn out, the things that you start to let go are taking care of yourself, either physically, emotionally, whatever. So getting some kind of routine or ritual to take care of yourself that brings you back to whole. Maybe that's reading at night, maybe that's going for a walk, maybe that's taking a long bath, um, something like that. And then visualization, and I don't want to say manifestation, but visualization has been huge for me, because if you're feeling that burnout and you're feeling that stress right now, and like you said, feeling, oh, there's a lack of inventory right now, and that's all you're thinking about, that's the world you're living in, like your emotions are going to be like at that kind of fight or flight or fight all the time, because that's all you're seeing. So I spend a good amount of time doing like manifestation and visualizing of myself in my future me, like so I have a little mini farm here that needs a lot of work, so I envision that being the work completely done. I envision all my passive income covering all my expenses, so I'm not having, so part of me is getting a relief from that fight, flight, or fight. And it's saying, oh yes, there is that other place. It's in the future, but it is there. I even listen to like sleep manifestations every night, like 8-hour sleep manifestations every night with like Bluetooth iMask speakers, and worked really hard on the rituals, because you've got to break that fight, or flight feeling. Otherwise, it compresses you, and you just like, like shielding yourself from it. Um, so that's where I would start. And then find one thing like about yourself that makes you feel great and powerful. Like for women, maybe, it's doing makeup or getting dressed pulls us out of that. For men, maybe it's, I don't know, some sports or, woodworking, but find something that makes you feel good and powerful and strong, and make sure to do that and not let that fall off to the side. Because when you're in that burnout, all you want to do is like literally sleep or scroll to drown it all out. Like that's why we do that, right? Or just watch a gazillion things on YouTube or TV or whatever. It's because we're drowning out the stuff that's burning us out. And we're just trying, like I said, it's like, just trying to hold everything back. So that's what I would do. Try to work on some kind of like daily visualization of a future you, you know, and find one routine or ritual that's like self-care, taking care of yourself, that makes you feel really good. Maybe that's cooking great meals. I don't know what that is. Everybody's different. So I hope that helps.
It does. It does a
Yeah,
lot.
it does.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
So
Thank you, Stacy and Janie. I'm going fishing.
Okay, Chris, go fishing.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.